5:35 right now. It's an important time for millennials.
Yes, here's Lauren McDonald now with what is still ahead.
Hey guys, good morning. It is time to turn the page on debt. This morning it is the year of the millennial home buyer. We're going to tell you what you need to know when buying a home coming up next.
Well, 2017 is a big year for millennials and the housing market.
And right now we're getting tips on how to help all first-time home buyers. This is good information. Lauren McDonald has a special guest and joins us right now with what you should know. Lauren?
Hey guys, good morning. 2017 is the year of the millennial home buyer. That is according to our friend this morning, financial analyst and mortgage analyst, Tim Byers. So thank you for being here today.
Thanks very much for having me.
And we're going to talk about millennials buying a house for the first time now. We talked earlier, I'm a millennial. I feel like I'm in no way, shape, or form ready to buy a house.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about tips, and you're going to tell me ways that I can save in our last segment. But right now, you're going to tell us the market's really turning around.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really good research about this. Millennials have been on the sidelines for a while, for the past 6 years. And I think part of that is due to rising rents. You know, we talked a little bit about student
loan
loans.
debt, yes.
Student loans have kept, folks on the sidelines. But it does seem to be turning around. The National Association of Realtors does an annual survey. Their survey this year shows that roughly 52% of the buying populace is going to be first time. So lots of up-and-comers, and of those, 61% are millennials. So it's a market that seems to be turning around, and I think part of that is just due to a better economy, more buying power, and some of the supply may be loosening up, particularly in areas like Colorado Springs. So it's a pretty interesting time for you as a millennial to be looking at a new home.
Do you think the millennials are couples that are buying together, or is it individuals?
It's a little bit of both, and
Okay.
we did something on this on, mortgage before marriage and some things to look out for, because we do see that as an ongoing trend. Couples who are just pooling resources to get into a home. And frankly, this is one of the most, your generation is one of the most financially savvy generations we've ever seen. Certainly much more than my generation.
Really?
Yeah, there was an interesting T. Rowe Price survey that said 67% of millennials said that they would do anything to save money. They will ride share. They will think of very creative ways to sock away money. And so this is a generation that's actually coming up and preparing themselves to make these very big investments because they don't believe they're going to be taken care of.
I can understand that because, recently you want to get that debt paid off.
Right.
You come out of school with all this student loan debt or all this credit card debt or whatever kind of debt it is that you have, and you realize I'm not able to do these things, buy a home or support a family if I have all this debt. So.
Right. And a home, we encourage people to think of this as it's part of your entire financial portfolio. When you have a home and you're building equity, and let's say you're a couple of years in or 3 years in and you've got some equity in that home, you can take that equity and maybe wipe out some student debt and claim the full tax benefit of that, something you can't do when you're carrying a lot of student debt. The government doesn't let you write off very much of that debt.
No, not at all. It's kind of like leasing a house or leasing a car versus buying a car, right?
Right.
You're going to get your money back eventually.
Absolutely.
All right, so guys, we are going to be with Tim all morning long giving us tips for first-time home buyers. Pretty interesting stuff. Back to you.
Lauren, thank you. It is 5:48. Well, there's
Yeah. You two look better as a couple. I'm kind of the weird kid.
All right, 6:40. Experts say 2017 is the year of the millennial home buyer.
What? Lauren McDonald with what's coming up.
Hey guys, coming up after the break, smart secret savings for first-time home buyers. You don't want to miss it. That's next.
If you're a millennial, this may be your year when it comes to purchasing your first home.
Right now, Lauren McDonald is with a financial expert for tips on how to make this milestone purchase. Lauren?
Hey guys, good morning. This morning we are telling you what you need to do if you are in the market to buy a house for the first time before making an offer. Here with the expert on that topic is Tim Byers this morning. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Mortgage analyst, so you know all you need to know when you're buying a house for the first time. Now, let me ask you a question. Renting versus buying in Colorado?
It depends on the region. If you're here in Colorado Springs, you really want to be thinking about buying. This is one of the few places in the state that has become sort of a buyer's market. The houses are a little easier to get into, but also just when you look at the average rent, it's a little over $1,000.
It's a mortgage payment.
Yeah, and that you're almost exactly right. If you're getting into a 30-year mortgage, you might pay around $1,400. So Is that $400 worth it? I would say yes when you're trying to build up equity, particularly if you're going to stay here for a while. It's a beautiful part of the state. So yeah, for sure, renting versus buying, if you're here in Colorado Springs, you really should be thinking about buying.
Definitely. All right, now you're going to give us tips that we can use as millennials if we are first-time buyers.
Yeah, so things you want to be doing if you're starting to think about putting down, money on a house. Millennials are notoriously good savers, so I think most of the people who will be, coming into this process probably have some of that money saved up. But then once you've done that, all of the classic things you want to do when you're making any good purchase apply here. Get your credit report. It's easy to get. If you go to government websites, you get your credit report free once a year. Check it. Are there errors? If there are errors, there's a process to correct them. Don't go into the home buying process with, an errant credit report. Get your credit score. That's how lenders like us at American Financing look at you. The higher your credit score, the better deal you're going to get. And then sit with an expert. There are a lot of different options you can choose for financing a home.
Right. Now, I'm sure that this depends on the price of the house, obviously.
Absolutely.
But an acceptable down payment just generally, how much money do you want to have set aside?
If you can do it, do 20%, because then you're open to the full range of mortgages. But don't worry about it if you can't. A lot of people will sit on the sidelines and pay rent if they can't come up with 20%. Don't worry about that. There's a lot of things you can do in order to mitigate your out-of-pocket costs. But if you can do 20% and you've got that money saved, you're going to get the best deal.
Okay. And then fixed mortgage rate
versus adjustable?
Yeah.
It's, depending on how long you're going to stay in the home. And, there's no hard and fast rule here, but if you're sort of buying a starter house and you're planning to be out in 3 to 5 years and move on to the next home, then look at an adjustable mortgage. But if you want to buy a home that you're going to be in for the long term, definitely try, because we are at historically low interest rates, lock those in, get a 30-year mortgage, and plan to be there for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Great tips from Tim this morning, guys. We've got more all morning long. Back to you.
Lauren, thank you. It is 5:53 and Robin moon landing is expected to bring between $2 and $4 million. Pricey. All right, 7:20. It's a very special financial year for a younger generation.
And Lauren McDonald has all the info. Here she is now with what is next.
Good morning. It is the year of the millennial home buyer. We're going to tell you exactly what that means coming up after the break.
Welcome back. 7:23. Many say if you're a millennial, 2017 is the year you're going to help move the housing market.
So if you're set to buy a home for the first time, Lauren McDonald has a special guest with some tips to help you seal the big deal. Lauren?
Hey guys, good morning. 2017 is the year of the millennial home buyer, and we are here with Tim Byers, mortgage analyst, and we are talking about buying a house for the first time. You tell me you don't have $20,000 in the bank, that's all right, because there's other ways to save to where you can put a down payment on a house. Right,
yeah, and there are different programs. I mean, one of the biggest ones, one of the newest ones is the first-time home buyer savings account. And this isn't actually a specific savings account. It's you decide where you want to put money. You designate that as savings you're putting down for a house, maybe for a down payment, for your out-of-pocket costs.
So I have a savings account. I'm putting money away. I'm ready to buy a house. I don't do anything beforehand.
Right.
I just get the form from the government.
Right.
And fill it out and say, I've had the savings account. I'm ready to use it to buy a house.
Yes. And that money is available to you tax-free.
There's other programs too.
Yeah, I mean that's one, and certainly down payment assistance if you're lower income and you're getting in a house for the first time. This is called CHFA, so the Colorado Housing Finance Authority, and they are an agency that specializes entirely in helping lower income buyers get into a home by offering down payment assistance. So. And it can be thousands of dollars. They can give you enough not only to put down a down payment, but also cover a lot of your closing costs. It's a very interesting program, and you should really check it out if you're in the market and you haven't yet hit your professional stride and you're still operating at a lower income. And a lot of millennials out of college, for example, would be qualifying for this. Something else you can do if you don't have big money in the bank and you can afford a conventional mortgage, you can do what's called an FHA loan. So that's a loan that you get through the bank, but it's backed by the government. And it's great for a first-time home buyer because instead of having to put, say, 20% down to avoid mortgage insurance, you only have to put down 3.5%. So it's a huge difference in your out-of-pocket.
Right.
And then finally, a VA loan is if you can get it, it's the best deal going. In terms of getting into a house. There's no down payment required. There is no mortgage insurance required. If you are at all disabled, and the VA will rate, whatever service-connected disabilities you have, at least 10%, the fee you have to pay to get into this, which is called a funding fee, is waived entirely. And it can cost a lot of money.
Right.
On a $250,000 house, you're talking about almost $8,000
right.
in a funding fee. So there are ways to get into a house without putting very much down, and you can avoid a lot of these extra expenditures that you might be forced to pay if, for example, you're a disabled veteran.
Right. Thanks for being here with us this morning.
Yeah,
I've
great.
learned a lot for sure. And also, guys, make sure to see somebody that can help you with your mortgage, somebody like Tim. All right, guys, back to you.
Thanks so much for that, Lauren. Appreciate that. It is 7:27 on your Fox 21 Morning News, and we are continuing to see